Imagine lying down in your bed tonight, closing your eyes exactly the way you have done thousands of times before, and never waking up again. No warning, no pain you remember, just silence. This happens far more often than most people realize. Every single year, hundreds of thousands of adults over the age of 50 suffer heart attacks and strokes while they are asleep. And here is the part that should stop you cold. For the vast majority of them, the cause was not rare disease. It was not bad genetics. It was not some sudden catastrophic failure no one could have anticipated. It was something they were doing every single night, believing it was completely harmless, a habit so ordinary, so unremarkable that nobody had ever told them to think twice about it. In the next 14 minutes, I am going to show you the 5 nighttime habits that quietly turn sleep into one of the most dangerous moments of the entire day for your heart and brain. I am going to explain exactly what each one does to your cardiovascular system while you cannot feel it happening. And more importantly, I am going to show you what you can change starting tonight. I have spent decades working with adults over 50 who came to me after something had already gone wrong. What I am sharing right now is what I wish every single one of them had known before that appointment ever happened. This information could genuinely save your life or the life of someone sitting right next to you. Before we go any further, I want to ask you something specific. Drop a comment right now with just your age and the word sleep. That is all. I want to see who is watching this because what I am about to share applies very differently depending on whether you are 52, 65, or 78. The risks shift, the mechanisms shift, and the most urgent habit to address first changes significantly with age. And if you have ever woken up in the middle of the night with your heart racing or noticed a strange heaviness in your chest that disappeared by morning, add the word racing to your comment. That symptom is not something to dismiss. You will understand exactly why in about 4 minutes. Here is what is happening in bedrooms across this country every single night. A 71-year-old finishes dinner at 9:30 in the evening, later than planned because the day ran long. He eats a full plate. He takes his blood pressure medication, or maybe he forgets because he is tired and figures one night will not matter. He turns the thermostat up because the room feels cold. He falls asleep on his back, and within an hour, his wife notices he is snoring heavily, pausing between breaths, then gasping softly. He does not remember any of it in the morning. That same scenario plays out in millions of homes every single night. And here is what almost nobody understands. Not one of those individual choices feels dangerous. Each one taken alone seems perfectly ordinary. But inside that man's cardiovascular system, every single one of those decisions is compounding against him simultaneously, quietly, invisibly, while he sleeps. According to the American Heart Association, nearly half of all fatal cardiovascular events in adults over 50 occur between midnight and 6 in the morning. Nearly half. That is not a coincidence. That is biology. And once you understand the biology, you can do something about it. Now, if you are someone who values understanding the why behind the risk, not just being handed a list and told to follow it, what I am about to explain is going to completely change how you think about sleep. Your cardiovascular system at night is not simply resting. It is doing something far more precise than that. During healthy sleep, 3 critical processes are supposed to happen simultaneously. First, nocturnal blood pressure dipping. In a well-functioning cardiovascular system, blood pressure drops 10 to 20% during sleep. Your heart gets genuine rest. Your arterial walls get a break from constant pressure load. Researchers now use this dipping pattern as one of the strongest predictors of long-term cardiovascular health. People whose pressure does not dip at night, what clinicians call non-dippers, have dramatically higher rates of heart attack and stroke, even when their daytime readings look completely acceptable. Second, autonomic nervous system recovery. Your nervous system shifts from its active daytime state into parasympathetic repair mode during sleep. Heart rate drops, stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline fall to their lowest levels of the entire day. This is when your heart muscle actually recovers from the demands of the previous 16 waking hours. Third, cerebral waste clearance. Your brain has its own internal cleaning system, the glymphatic system, that becomes most active during deep sleep. It flushes toxic metabolic byproducts that accumulate during waking hours, including compounds directly associated with long-term neurological damage. This system depends almost entirely on uninterrupted sleep quality. Think of your cardiovascular and neurological systems at night like a precision instrument being carefully recalibrated in a controlled environment. If something disrupts that recalibration window, anything anything, the instrument does not finish its repair cycle. And if that disruption happens night after night for years, the cumulative damage builds in ways that show no warning signs until something breaks. These are not small differences. They are fundamental changes that demand real attention, and yet the habits most people bring into their bedrooms every night were formed without any of this in mind. Deadly nighttime habit number 5. Eating late and eating heavy. This is the one most people never connect to cardiovascular risk because it feels so ordinary. Dinner ran late, the meal was satisfying, you go to bed feeling full. But here is what is actually happening inside your body during those next several hours. When you eat a large meal, particularly one high in fat, salt, or refined carbohydrates, your digestive system demands a major increase in blood flow. Your heart must pump harder to supply your stomach and intestines. Blood pressure rises, triglycerides enter your bloodstream in a wave, your core body temperature increases from metabolic activity. All of this is happening at the exact moment your cardiovascular system is supposed to be downshifting into its nightly rest cycle. It is like trying to run a precision instrument at full load while simultaneously attempting to service it. The system cannot do both at once. A major study published in the European Heart Journal followed over 100,000 adults across multiple years and found that people who regularly ate their largest meal late in the evening had a measurably higher risk of nighttime cardiovascular events. Even after controlling for total caloric intake and overall diet quality, the timing itself was the variable that mattered. There is a second mechanism most people are completely unaware of. Going to bed with a full stomach increases acid reflux during sleep, and acid reflux in adults over 50 is not simply uncomfortable. The vagus nerve running from your brainstem directly through your chest and abdomen becomes stimulated during reflux episodes. Vagal stimulation can trigger dangerous heart rhythm disturbances, including atrial fibrillation, in people with any degree of underlying cardiovascular sensitivity. The fix is direct. Finish your last meal at least 3 hours before sleep. Keep eating portions moderate, lean protein, vegetables, and easily digestible carbohydrates. Avoid high-fat dishes and large quantities of sodium after 7 in the evening. Those 3 hours are when your heart begins its transition into rest mode. Give it the space to do that properly. Deadly nighttime habit number 4, going to bed dehydrated. Many adults over 50 make this choice deliberately, reducing fluid intake in the evening specifically to avoid waking for the bathroom. On the surface, that sounds entirely reasonable. In reality, it is one of the most quietly dangerous decisions an older adult can make before sleep. After age 50, the physiological sensation of thirst becomes measurably less reliable. Your body's internal hydration signaling degrades. You can be clinically dehydrated and feel completely normal. Meanwhile, your body continues losing water throughout the night through respiration, even without any physical exertion. If you enter sleep already mildly dehydrated, your blood becomes thicker, more viscous. Thicker blood is slower moving blood. Slower moving blood forms clots more readily and delivers oxygen to tissues less efficiently. Now layer in the normal physiology of sleep, heart rate slowing, blood pressure dropping, circulation redistributing, and you have created conditions where clot formation in coronary or cerebral vessels becomes meaningfully more likely. A study published in the Journal of Cardiovascular Disease Research found that even moderate dehydration raised the risk of nighttime cardiovascular events by more than 60% in adults over 55. That is not a marginal increase. That is the difference between a night your body repairs itself and a night your body is fighting for circulation. One of my patients, meticulous about his health in every other regard, had not taken a drop of water after 6 in the evening for 3 full years. He was convinced he was protecting his sleep quality. 6 weeks after he told me that, proudly at a routine visit, he suffered an ischemic stroke at 4 in the morning. Imaging showed a clot in a cerebral artery. His blood viscosity at admission was significantly elevated. Dehydration was a real and preventable contributing factor. The solution does not require disrupting your sleep. Drink 1 full glass of water approximately 90 minutes before bedtime. Use the bathroom immediately before lying down. Keep a small glass on your nightstand for 2 or 3 sips if you wake during the night. This is enough to keep blood flowing smoothly through the hours your cardiovascular system needs it most. Deadly nighttime habit number 3, undiagnosed or untreated sleep apnea. This is the most under-recognized cardiovascular risk factor in adults over 50 currently in widespread existence. And the reason it remains under-recognized is simple. Most people who have it do not know they have it. Sleep apnea causes repeated involuntary pauses in breathing during sleep. These pauses can last 10 to 30 seconds. During each pause, Oxygen levels in your blood drop, your brain sends an emergency signal, stress hormones surge, heart rate spikes, blood pressure jumps, vessels constrict. Then breathing resumes, oxygen recovers, and the cycle resets. In moderate to severe sleep apnea, this cycle does not happen once or twice. It can happen hundreds of times per night. Every hour, your cardiovascular system is being subjected to repeated emergency stress responses. It was never designed to sustain on a chronic basis. A 2023 analysis published in the European Heart Journal, pooling data from 11 major studies involving over 42,000 participants, confirmed that untreated moderate to severe sleep apnea tripled the risk of nighttime heart attack and increased stroke risk by a factor of 4. The warning signs are well documented. Loud, chronic snoring that a partner notices more than you do, waking with a headache that clears within an hour, excessive daytime fatigue that does not improve regardless of how many hours you sleep, blood pressure genuinely difficult to control despite medication, waking at night with a sense of breathlessness you cannot fully explain. One of my patients, a woman in her early 60s, who had been rigorously managing her cholesterol and blood pressure for 7 years, came in after her husband finally insisted she get evaluated. Her oxygen levels during sleep were dropping below 80%. One night, the combination of oxygen deprivation and cardiovascular strain triggered an arrhythmia requiring emergency intervention. Treatment changed her risk profile completely. Within 6 months, sleeping on your side instead of your back reduces apnea severity in many people and is worth doing immediately, but it is not a substitute for a proper evaluation. If you recognize any of those warning signs, request a sleep study. It can now be completed at home. The information it provides is genuinely life-altering. Deadly nighttime habit number 2. Skipping medications or taking them at the wrong time. If you take medication for blood pressure, heart rhythm, or clotting, this section is not optional information. It directly determines your cardiovascular risk tonight. Blood pressure follows a precise daily rhythm. In a healthy cardiovascular system, it drops during sleep, but in a significant percentage of adults over 50 already managing hypertension, this dip does not happen consistently. Pressure can remain elevated through the night, or in some individuals, it actually rises. This condition, nocturnal hypertension, is dangerous in ways that daytime measurements completely miss. Your doctor sees your blood pressure during office hours. They are not seeing what your arteries are experiencing at 3 in the morning. Sustained elevated nighttime pressure creates repeated mechanical stress against arterial walls. Think of your arteries as high-pressure pipes whose inner lining is under constant load. In areas where fatty plaque has already formed, that sustained pressure can cause the plaque to crack or rupture. A ruptured plaque triggers the clotting cascade. A clot in a coronary or cerebral artery at 3 in the morning when no one is watching is often the event that ends a life. Research published in The Lancet across multiple large cohorts demonstrated that properly timed blood pressure medication reduced nighttime cardiovascular event risk by nearly 45%. Missing doses disrupts that protection entirely. Those unprotected windows are exactly when events occur. I treated a patient who had been doing well on his regimen for 2 years. He had developed the habit of skipping his evening medication on nights he felt tired. He reasoned that one missed dose could not matter much. He suffered a massive stroke during sleep on a Tuesday night. He survived, but with permanent neurological changes that altered every aspect of his daily life. One missed dose can matter enormously. If you are unsure about the optimal timing for your specific medications, that question deserves a direct conversation with your physician, not a guess. Your medication schedule is one of the most powerful cardiovascular tools you have. Protect it accordingly. And now the most correctable and most consistently underestimated nighttime cardiovascular risk factor on this entire list. Deadly nighttime habit number 1. Sleeping in a room that is too hot or too cold. I know what you were thinking. Bedroom temperature sounds like a comfort issue, not a medical one. That assumption is exactly why this habit is so dangerous. Nobody treats it like the physiological variable it actually is. Here is the mechanism. Your body temperature naturally drops during sleep as part of the circadian process that initiates and maintains deep restorative sleep stages. This temperature drop is directly linked to the cardiovascular dipping pattern we discussed earlier. Heart rate slows, blood pressure falls, the parasympathetic nervous system takes control. But when your bedroom is too warm, above approximately 24 degrees Celsius or 75 degrees Fahrenheit, your body cannot release heat efficiently. Blood vessels dilate in an attempt to radiate warmth toward the skin surface. Heart rate elevates when it should be falling. You lose fluid through perspiration. Blood concentrates. The entire cardiovascular cardiovascular rest cycle is disrupted from the very first hour of sleep. Research including data from Harvard's sleep division confirmed that sleeping in rooms above the optimal temperature range significantly increases nighttime cardiovascular stress markers, even in adults with no diagnosed heart disease. But cold is not safer. When ambient temperature drops below approximately 18 degrees Celsius or 65 degrees Fahrenheit, blood vessels in the extremities constrict sharply. Peripheral vascular resistance increases. Your heart must pump against that added resistance with every single beat through the entire night. In adults over 50 whose arterial walls have already lost some of their natural elasticity, that sustained mechanical load can be the variable that tips a vulnerable system past its compensatory threshold. European cardiovascular data tracked sharp increases in nighttime heart attacks during cold weather events, particularly in older adults living in inadequately heated bedrooms. These are not people dying of cold exposure. They are people whose cardiovascular systems were pushed past the margin by a room that was 6 degrees too cool. The therapeutic window is specific: 18 to 22 degrees Celsius, 65 to 72 degrees Fahrenheit. Within that range, heart rate stabilizes, blood pressure regulation functions optimally, and sleep deepens into the slow wave and REM stages where the most meaningful cardiovascular repair occurs. A programmable thermostat set to maintain that range throughout the night is not a luxury. It is a cardiovascular intervention available to almost everyone. If thermostat control is not available, a layered blanket system you can adjust easily during the night achieves the same goal. This is not about comfort. This is about protecting your heart during the 8 hours it depends on most to repair itself. Now, if you have been doing several of these things for years, I want to say something directly to you. This is not a sentence. It is a starting point. The human body has a capacity for recovery that is genuinely remarkable. Chronic nighttime cardiovascular stress is not irreversible, not when it is caught and interrupted before a major event occurs. The damage these habits create builds slowly, which means the repair process, when you change the pattern, also builds steadily and measurably. Most of these habits have been in place not because you were careless, but because nobody ever explained that they were clinically significant. The late dinner felt practical. Avoiding water before bed seemed logical. The medication schedule felt flexible. The thermostat was just comfort. You were not doing anything wrong. You simply did not have this information. Now you do. And that changes what happens tonight. Here is a specific practical nighttime protocol you can begin tonight, not next week. Tonight, by 7 o'clock in the evening, finish your dinner. Keep the meal moderate, lean protein, vegetables, and easily digestible carbohydrates. Avoid heavy fats and high sodium dishes. Your cardiovascular system needs approximately 3 hours to complete the post-meal demand before sleep begins. At 7:30, drink a full glass of water. If you have evening medications, take them exactly as directed at their scheduled time. Medication timing is structural. It is not flexible. Between 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock, transition to calm activity. A gentle 10-minute walk after dinner is one of the most effective cardiovascular interventions available without a prescription. It helps clear the blood glucose and triglyceride spike from your meal before your heart enters its rest cycle. After the walk, reading, quiet music, or conversation. Avoid emotionally activating content on screens during this window. By 9 o'clock, adjust your bedroom environment, set the thermostat to your target range, dim the lights, place a small glass of water on your nightstand. Each of these steps is a physiological preparation, not a comfort preference. At 9:30, before lying down, use the bathroom fully and take any remaining scheduled medications. If you suspect sleep apnea based on what you heard today, start sleeping on your side tonight. With appropriate neck support, that position change alone reduces apnea severity in a significant percentage of people from the very first night. Once in bed, if you wake during the night, move slowly, sit up before standing, take 2 or 3 small sips of water if thirsty. The slow transition from horizontal to vertical prevents the blood pressure drop that can accompany sudden position changes in older adults. Multiple studies examining circadian blood pressure management and sleep safety have found that structured evening routines like this one reduce nocturnal cardiovascular stress markers by more than 40%, achievable without a prescription, without cost, and beginning the very first night you use it. Let me bring this together before you close this video. 5 nighttime habits that silently damage your heart and brain after 50. Number 5. Late, heavy dinners that force your heart to work at full load at the exact moment it needs to rest. Number 4. Going to bed dehydrated, thickening the blood and raising clot risk during the hours when circulation naturally slows. Number 3, untreated sleep apnea, hundreds of emergency stress cycles per night, invisible, unfelt, and devastating to cardiovascular function over time. Number 2, skipping or mistiming medications, opening unprotected windows during the most dangerous cardiovascular hours of the entire day. Number 1, sleeping in a room that is too hot or too cold, disrupting the precise physiological conditions your heart and brain depend on to complete their overnight repair. Each of these habits, taken alone, is dangerous. Together, they do not simply add, they compound. The combined burden they create during sleep is far greater than the sum of its parts. But here is the truth I want you to carry out of this video. Many nighttime heart attacks and strokes are not fate. They are not genetic inevitabilities written into your biology that nothing can change. They are preventable, consistently preventable with exactly the kind of practical attention we just covered. You do not need expensive interventions. You do not need to overhaul your life. You need 5 specific changes, and you can begin all 5 tonight. Your heart has worked for you every single moment of every day of your life. Give it the conditions it needs to do its repair work during the hours it depends on most. Drop a comment right now with the word protected. If this gave you something real tonight, something specific and actionable, I want to see that word below. It tells me this information reached someone who is going to do something with it. Think of one person you love who is over 50, a partner or parent, a close friend, someone who may be doing one or more of these things right now without knowing the risk. Send them this video tonight, not tomorrow, tonight. That single action may be the most genuinely protective thing you do for someone you care about this week. Subscribe to this channel. Every week I share evidence-grounded health information for adults who refuse to accept that decline is inevitable. You deserve to know what the research actually shows before something goes wrong, not after. In my next video, I am going to go deep into one common morning habit that most adults over 60 begin their day with, something they do specifically because they believe it supports their cardiovascular health, and why the research published in the last 3 years tells a very different story. That information surprised even me after decades of working in this field. You will not want to miss it. This video is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not medical advice. Cardiovascular health management must always be individualized based on your complete medical history, current medications, and specific risk profile. Never adjust or discontinue any prescribed medication without first consulting your healthcare provider. The information presented reflects current published research and should complement, not replace, a thorough evaluation by a qualified medical professional.